Tansei. My name is Kevin McKenzie. I'm a visual artist. I'm a member of Cowess's First Nation, Treaty 4, Saskatchewan. Currently we're near Carberry, Manitoba, filming outside my hot rod. I've had a 25 to 30 year art practice, and within that time frame, I've had a lot of highlights, a lot of low lights as well, but I think that's goes with anybody's art career. But yeah, like I said, I've had a 30-year art practice and still continuing my art. And so it's a constant evolution of creating new work, creating new research for that work. Always looking forward to the next project. And so there always seems to be a project around the horizon. What we're working on right now is a project that involves just that. I've accepted a position here at Broden University at the Ishkabaten Wasa Ga Inatabag Department of Visual Arts. And so I'm an instructor there. I've been an instructor there since 2019. The President's office was looking for somebody to submit a sculpture that would recognize truth and reconciliation for Broden University. So they were going to make a public call for artists to submit, and then my department spoke up and said, well, we already have an Indigenous artist here on campus. And so the President's office then asked me if I would like to submit for the public commission, which I did, and the President's office accepted my submission. Truth and reconciliation is a hard concept to grasp. As an Indigenous person and somebody who, my father was a survivor of the Lebret Indian Industrial Residential School, which he never really talked about. So I think this is very common with Indigenous people. My father didn't talk about his experience much to us when we were children. And then my father suddenly passed away when he was 39 years old, and I was 17 years old. And so we kind of lost a big part of our lives. But the thing about that is the intergenerational trauma has become part of the contemporary Indigenous experience. And that's what's sort of happened with our family. I teach three-dimensional design at Broden University. It's one of my classes. I teach 2D design as well. And one of the things that I refer to my students when it comes to three-dimensional design, any sculpture has a mass, and it takes up volume. And so in Western terms, everything is measured. And so in the Western sense, like a sculpture would be measured in height, width, and depth. And so I had to start with that. So I start with that. But I kind of think, I was thinking that the whole notion of truth and reconciliation was abstract. Or it was abstract to Indigenous people. I don't know how abstract it is to Western or Canadian culture. And so when I was thinking of the concept of the actual piece, I was thinking of truth in sort of like a Western reference. It would be linear and vertical. And so I thought we'd have like a vertical plane that was very dominant, and then we'd have another intersecting plane. So it would be two planes coming together that could be measured. Have this subtraction cut out of one of the intersecting planes, which I did in the maquette, and it's in the shape of what I would refer to maybe, or it appears to me, it looks almost like a river. And then there's holes that are cut out that follow that subtraction, and then within the holes there's a lace of a sinew that connects both sides of the subtraction. And in my mind, what I did with the maquette, because the maquette's only 14 inches high, so I used sinew to connect. So it's red sinew on this metal maquette with this cutout. And so when I took that to the president and the EU community, the Indigenous community, everybody loved it. They said, okay, well, this is exactly what we're looking for. Because I think everybody had a different interpretation of what that meant. Like the maquette itself was basically, everybody had a completely different interpretation of what that sculpture was, because everybody could relate their experience about what truth and reconciliation is. The maquette was only 14 inches high. The actual piece is 24 feet high with one intersecting plane, and the other intersecting plane is 20 feet high with the subtraction. Yeah, one of the projects that was unintentionally, I guess, working in tandem with the sculpture is my car. It's a '63 Chevy Bel Air, and been working on this car here in close to Carberry, Manitoba. During the day, I'd be at Can Steel in the fabrication shop, and then I'd be here in the evenings working on my hot rod and doing the body work or the front end work. And so for like 10 days straight, I was going to Can Steel, and then in the evening here, working on my car in the shed, mind you. And so this is kind of old school, because basically we're not working in a fancy painting booth with fancy gear and things like that. We're just spraying it in a shed out in the country here. And I think that that's really appropriate for my project. And it's in contrast with that industrial aesthetic that I'm sort of immersed in during the day at Can Steel, because it's, like I said, it's this huge industrial cathedral. There's metal and there's giant machines and technicians running around grinding and welding and cutting. And then I come out here and kind of do the same thing inside the shed. So I think that there's a really good connection there. But also I think that it connects also to my thesis last year, titled 17, which was basically based on the time frame of when we lost our father. And I was 17 years old, so the thesis was titled 17. And so what happens when you're 17 is you come of age, and when you come of age, you build a hot rod. So there's a connection right there. And so also at the same time, I don't know how it came together, but building the hot rod and the sculpture kind of came together at the same time. So somehow they're working in tandem together, and I really appreciate that, actually. But I'm looking forward to the day when they're both complete and we can do a nice photo shoot with both, with the car and the sculpture together.